Hi and welcome back to Bike Speeds. So this week we've got this lovely Canyon Ultimate CF-SLX and we're going to convert it to Sram eTap wireless shifting. So you can see we've got the full pack here with the front derailleurs, rear derailleurs, shifters all in a box, and we're going to convert it. First thing we noticed on this bike was these cables were very tight against each other. If you're doing a left turn there, you could see it's touching against the cables and would be quite hard to do. Probably this bike would have originally been quite a hard bike to actually ride no-handed. So if you were getting a gel out your pocket or whatever and you're trying to get that into your face, I think this bike would be a tricky one. It would certainly be a bike you'd always have to have one hand on the handlebars. So first off we're stripping it down. You can see here we're getting all the old group set off, which was immaculate. This is a tidy upgrade. Equally though, as the bike stood, it was very nice. So you can see that I took out the fitting from the chainstay end where the cable came out. When I ever do a conversion, be it this type of conversion or even if I'm doing a single speed bike where I'm taking an old frame and converting it, I always like to make the bikes appear like that's how they should be. So in the case of this bike, I took out all the old fittings. I then cut out of our vinyl cutter some vinyl to go blank off those fittings. I also gave the customer spare vinyls so that he could, if they disturb the vinyl that we've put on, it can be reapplied. And it just makes the bike look like it was supposed to have left the factory as we've converted it. And it's the same with any bike. When we're building a bike or converting a bike, we do try to add that touch of making it feel right. So we're now stripping off the old levers here. We've took the tape off the handlebars. There were a couple of fittings on the bottom of these handlebars that held the cables you saw there. Both were broken, so we didn't actually refit those. We put those in a bag with all the other fittings that we took off the bike so that they can be reapplied if the bike was ever converted back to cables. They've got all the fittings that we've took off, including those. But the fact we had two less cables, we didn't really need those. We could support the brake cables with the handlebar tape once finished. So you can see the other broken one there in my hand. We opted to remove those entirely. So we're changing the shifters. You can see I used a ruler to get them dead the same height as the originals. First one side, then the other, lined them up with the handlebars to get them dead level and dead right to where they originally were. And then all the parts that we've took off that we can clean, we're now doing here with the ultrasonic cleaner. Cassette, chain, all the little fittings that the brake cables were fitting in on the crossbar, we cleaned all those as well, the little plastic fittings, so that everything was spotless when it went back on the bike. Yeah, it's important to sort of clean everything up. We washed down the whole bike, we re-greased everything. You can see here we're actually using a damp microfiber towel. This bike was spotless when it came in. It's a credit to the owner, but equally when we're doing a job like this, we want that bike to go back that extra level. So it didn't need cleaning, but we wiped the entire thing over with a microfiber towel because you can get areas that you couldn't get while it's built up, so that was important. The chain set there we left on, that had a power meter in it, so I didn't want to disturb that in any way, so I left that on and cleaned that on the bike. Now we're just cleaning up that back wheel before we start to put it back together. So you can see here we're just doing the hub and everything else. Re-grease all that when we put it back together, and that just makes everything right. So it's sort of almost like a partial service, even though we're only swapping components over. You can see it's an awful lot of work. It's not just a case of unbolting one, slapping another one on and hoping that it's all going to work. Everything's got to be right, perfect, so that when this rider gets on this bike with this fresh conversion, they'll be thrilled with it. So you can see here we're just using the vinyl covers over the original holes that the cables were coming out of, including next the one on the end of the chainstay there, and that absolutely takes your eye off any holes, any original fittings. You would never think this bike was ever able to be used with cables. Another important thing we do here, change the batteries in the shifters, because although the customer gave us these parts to put on the bike, I like to put new batteries in to make sure that it's absolutely ready to roll. Charged up the batteries in both the front and rear derailleurs while I was doing the work as well. So this bike, I know that the day it leaves my shop, the batteries are 100% charged and everything's right. Now with this rear derailleur, it's supposed to only run up to a 28 tooth rear cassette, and we're actually running on this bike a 32 tooth rear cassette. So I had to adjust the B screw right out, and actually this did clear and ran quite smoothly right up and down the entire cassette. So it was probably at its extremities, but it did work, and I did advise the customer that really they should only be running a 28 tooth cassette on this bike, but it was running perfectly well, even so. So just adjusting up that front derailleur, you can see it was just kissing the front derailleur edge there on the small ring, so we just adjust that low screw to make sure that clears and everything is as it should be. A little bit of tinker time on the rear derailleur, a little bit of micro shift adjustment as well, and then oil up the chain, and we begin to get this bike looking and running perfectly. A little bit of lubricant on the derailleur because I don't know the service history of this part, so I'll assume that it's had no servicing done. So just give it a little bit of an oil up, a little bit of grease on the springs, does it no harm at all, and then we start recabling. So this week we've hit a milestone with the channel. We've actually reached 1,000 subscribers, and we've gone way over that in the course of last week to this week. So we're absolutely thrilled with that. So we'd like to say a big thank you to anybody who has lent us a bike. I mean, these are all commercial jobs, so all these customers have paid for this work, but equally they've kind of allowed us an extra day or two to do the work so that we can film the bikes. And we're indebted to the people who lend us these bikes, and thank you very, very much. Thank you to all the early subscribers, the 1,000 who've subscribed. We appreciate you being here. We've loved reading all your comments. Keep commenting, keep supporting the channel, and watch us grow together. Yeah, it's been a thrill, but I would especially like to say thank you to Simon, who edits all these videos. He spends way longer on them than I do with the filming. You know, he films, he edits, he uploads, he deals with all the YouTube. I very much appreciate Simon's help with the project. So yeah, it's been something that together we have really enjoyed doing, and every week we're enjoying it. So again, thanks to all the 1,000 subscribers and all those people who've lent us bikes. So as you can see, this is the full conversion. Thanks for watching.